The international break is over and the return of Arsenal is here, as Mikel Arteta's Arsenal travel down south to Bournemouth. Today we're going to get all the breaking team news ahead of the massive game, find out if Mikel Merino could be about to make his first Arsenal start, reveal a new report regarding Arsenal's next signing, and discuss the breaking managerial news that could change our future massively. Yo, what is going on guys? My name is Baz14, welcome back to your boys channel. I hope you guys are doing sensational, especially because the international break is over, so it's time to get excited. So as per, smash a like on the video if you enjoy and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Starting off with the boys in Brazil. After a dramatic victory against Chile in a World Cup qualifier, in a game that it took Brazil an 89th minute winner, with Gabriel Magalhães the man of the match, the following game was a 4-0 victory against Peru. Once again Gabriel in the starting lineup, playing all 90 minutes and producing a 7.2 rating, with fantastic on-the-ball numbers, 69 accurate passes and 4 accurate long balls. In a Brazil side that is often so competitive with so much pressure from the fans, Gabriel has now started all 10 of Brazil's World Cup qualifiers, established himself as their starting centre-back, asserting his dominance game after game. A look into his passing numbers for Brazil are actually very impressive. 74 per game at a 92% success rate, 3.1 accurate long balls, all while winning a towering 71% of his aerial duels. For all the praise that William Saliba gets after getting into the Euros team of the tournament, this next World Cup could be the time for Gabriel Magalhães, not only to get his flowers but to announce himself to the entire world. But where exactly was Gabriel Martinelli? Not involved in the squad due to an injury. Here he was seen watching Gabriel from the sidelines, as Arsenal continued to assess him with a calf injury. And here he was after the game flying back to London, alongside Fulham's Andreas Pereira and Lucas Paqueta of West Ham. He looks to be all in smiles, and in terms of the injury, said not to be serious, but Arsenal will continue to assess him ahead of a massive game against Bournemouth and games coming thick and fast. Sticking to the left hand side though, you've also got Riccardo Calafiori, starting in both of Italy's Nation League games, from a 2-2 draw against Belgium to a 4-1 victory over Israel. This time once again playing all 90 minutes in a back three, completing 96% of his passes and making 4 accurate long balls. For Italy he's a guaranteed starter, and for Arsenal we are starting to see why. Not only because of his quality on the ball, but it's all about the personality and confidence. Said to be loving life at Arsenal and specifically London. In a recent interview with BBC Sports, when asked about how he's learned English, he said, "I started learning with Netflix and UK drill lyrics." A man of true culture and charisma. Every time you watch Calafiori speak in an interview, despite not being a native English speaker, he seems to have a lot of assurance in himself, which perfectly sums him up as a player. Asked about his aura in the same interview, he says, "Yeah, I don't even know the meaning of this word. Aura, it's not physical, it's like around you. So when people come into the room, people go, whoa, this I don't know. But on the pitch, I agree about this. The attitude, the behaviour that I put on the pitch helped me a lot and helped the team a lot, I think." It's that confidence on the ball when it comes to playing through pressure though. You go back to the game against Man City in his first ever league start, at the Etihad away against a very intense City side. The way that he was demanding the ball and breaking through pressure, Calafiori is instinctively a risk taker, with one of the highest passing accuracies in the entire league. Arsenal were already a very press resistant side, but when you add Calafiori to that, we have become more dangerous than ever when he tried to press us now. But in terms of the breaking international news, it all goes down to England. After announcing Thomas Tuchel as the new head coach until 2025, Tuchel said, "I'm proud to be here and I'm proud to represent England. I want to put a second star on this shirt. I might have a German passport, but all these supporters can feel my passion for the English Premier League, how I love to work here, how I love to live here. Hopefully I can convince them that I'm proud to be an England manager." One of the best knockout managers in world football, having won the Champions League with Mason Mount and Timo Werner. Things might have not worked out, got on Paris Saint-Germain to their first ever Champions League final, and even knocked out Mikel Arteta's Arsenal in the Champions League this season. Thomas Tuchel's not a perfect manager, but when it comes to knockout football, he's got a resume there, with a history of getting English players to thrive. But the player that I really want to focus on though is Ben White. Having not been involved for England since the World Cup in 2022, rejected chance to be called up since then, the reports claim they had an issue with England behind the scenes, specifically the coaching staff of Gareth Southgate. But now you've got a brand new manager who favours a back three that could thrive with Ben White there. The idea of him playing as a right-sided centre-back for England could be perfect. And speaking in a recent interview, White spoke very highly about a certain teammate. We're talking Gabriel Magalhães, saying, "I think that Saliba's taking a lot of light, but Gabby has been unbelievable. The threat that he is in the box is scary. Every time we get a corner, you kind of know that we're going to score with him." Let's talk about some breaking Arsenal news though, as Arsenal's women manager Jonas Eijneveld has resigned from the club with immediate effect, after a poor start today with only 1 win in 4 WSL games, 2 back-to-back third place finishes, often falling short in terms of a title. After 2 abysmal defeats against Chelsea at the Emirates and then against Bayern in the Champions League, the writing seemed on the wall. So instead of waiting to get sacked, the manager chose to resign first, For a women's side that has a lot of top players like Alicia Russo and Leah Williamson, having won previously 15 league titles, there's a history of winning when it comes to a women's side. As we've seen with Mikel Arteta, a manager can make all the difference. So it makes a lot of sense why it was time to make a change. Talking of managers though, what's happening with Jack Wilshere, the current Arsenal under-18s coach, having been there for over a year now? According to our channel friend Art De Roche, is now in advanced talks with Norwich, as he moves there as a first team coach. Having only retired 2 years ago and still only 32 years of age, he was once an Arsenal star boy. A former Hill End boy knowing all about our academy, it makes sense why he's there in the first place. But with a chance to work as a first team coach, not as a manager at Norwich, there is a key reason to why Norwich could be looking to him. There actually is an Arsenal connection going on behind the scenes. We're talking about the current Norwich City sporting director Ben Napper, formerly of Arsenal Football Club and our loan manager. Going from an academy coach to a first team coach and fighting in the championship, it makes sense for Jack to make the move. But what's happening with the future of Pep Guardiola? The main thing standing in Arsenal's way for a title this season, having pipped us for 2 years in a row, but out of contract at the end of this specific season. According to David Ornstein, Pep was actually the top choice for the FA for the New England manager, but was yet to make a decision on his future. Therefore, an agreement was made with Thomas Tuchel. City are trying their best to keep Pep, but as things stand, a lot of things are uncertain. According to Fabrizio Romano, the City board are pushing to continue with Pep as a coach, even without Bournemouth in charge, but the final choice is up to Pep. Talks are ongoing, but I think this year is going to have a major impact. If this is to be Pep's final year, he's going to need to win a title. I highly doubt if Mikel is to pip him, that he won't look to extend after that. When talking about his contract expiring, Pep says, let's see on my future. I need to reflect and decide what I want to do. City will be planning though just in case he is to leave. A club with all the finances and a very highly rated squad. Players like Erling Haaland still not even in their peak yet. According to The Athletic, City have always maintained backup plans to replace Guardiola for years, even to the extent that Vieira and Arteta were considered genuine candidates when Vieira was doing well at Crystal Palace and Arteta was slightly struggling at Arsenal. There is no denying that City have always been long-term admirers of Mikel, but I don't think he's going to go personally. Not only because he's just signed a brand new 3-year contract, having become one of the highest paid managers of world football, backed by the Arsenal ownership and given the players that he wants, but more importantly at a club that he clearly loves. When asked after signing his new deal if there was any club or country that he would have left Arsenal for, Mikel said no. This is the emotional attachment that I have and my family has. The experience that I have and the involvement with the people, it's too strong. And you also can't forget about the competitive side of it. To go to your arch rival and the team that's beaten you for 2 years in a row just wouldn't make sense for Mikel in terms of that competitive spirit. Having spent years at Arsenal and a process, gone through so much pain and so much failure, a clear rivalry is developing and I'm sure that he wants to stay on Arsenal's side. With a very telling quote after the Man City game, saying I prefer this much more to somebody patting my back after the game and saying well done, you guys are in the right direction. This is why I do what I do. That was in response to people criticising his style of play and his tactics against Man City. But the reality is that teams no longer see Arsenal as a process and more as a threat. The idea that if this is Pep's final year, just think about what Arsenal could achieve just after that. With not a single side in the league right now as close to Arsenal and City when it comes to fighting for a title. Clear finances backed year after year, with a whole host of wonder kids coming through the academy. The likes of Saka and Co not even in their peak yet. When Mikel talked in the past about the project going bang, there's a very good chance that we're not far from seeing it come into fruition. In terms of the Arsenal owner though, Stan Kroenke, a key component in terms of backing Mikel Arteta, recent reports have confirmed that he is now entered the list of the 100 wealthiest people on the planet, now ranking 99th in terms of net worth of $20 billion. With that level of financial power, quite literally the definition of a sugar daddy. The question is, how are Arsenal going to use those finances? With the January transfer not too far away, and also trying to dethrone the City side, trying to make it 5 times in a row. According to Alex Crook, Alexander Isak has put clubs including Arsenal on red alerts as he continues to stall on signing a new contract. Arsenal have a long-standing interest in Isak at 25 years of age and are expected to push to sign a new number 9 next summer. Out of contract in 2028 and Newcastle trying their best to keep him. According to TalkSport, the Swede is demanding a pay packet making him Newcastle's top earner, as well as a release clause, in order to commit his future. The release clause tells me that's a player that doesn't see his long-term future there, and rightly so. A player truly at the caliber to play for a top-level side. Newcastle under Eddie Howe are always going to be a Europa League Champions League side, whereas Arsenal are a lot more established when it comes to fighting for a title, closer to winning major honours and giving players what they want. He was of course a former target of Mikel Arteta during his days at Real Sociedad, with no one forgetting the infamous ending of January 2022. Who here remembers this number plate? The Isak number plate seen outside the Emirates Stadium. But with a reported price tag of near £100 million, is it even going to be a January move? And according to Team News and Ticks, I've been told that Alexander Isak is very, very high on Arsenal's list. He's definitely someone I expect them to revisit next summer. If Newcastle don't get Europe, you'd imagine he'll be angling for a move. Isak leaving Newcastle is not my concern, it's more about the profile itself. When you talk about a price tag of £100 million, the recent evolution of Kai Havertz into becoming one of Arsenal's main forwards, Isak for me is definitely the more clinical goal scorer, having banged in 21 league goals last year from next year of only 20, with a whopping 27% goal conversion rate. But you have to ask yourself about everything else though. The pressing off the ball and the ability to be versatile, alongside the reliability to always be available. A look into Isak's injury history isn't that promising. Currently out with a broken toe, having missed Newcastle's last 5 games, missing a total of 12 games last year via groin injuries, and 19 games the year before via thigh problems. The consistent muscular injuries are never a good sign. But when we look at Erling Haaland and his time at Borussia Dortmund, he was actually very similar. With right management, you can always get past certain injuries. But when you look into the market and Arsenal's previous approaches, it's always been about opportunities. The prime example being Benjamin Sesko in the summer, released close to £50 million. With all the talk about a gentleman's agreement in his contract, the idea of him also being available in summer 2025. The question becomes, who's the better profile for Arsenal to go inside? For me, there is no doubt that Arsenal are going to make a move for a forward. And while Sesko long-term wise has a lot of potential, it could be all about how they could work with Kai Havertz. Because as confirmed by The Athletic before signing for Arsenal, Kai Havertz and Mikel Arteta had over an hour-long video call, with a German holiday in Greece when Mikel Arteta contacted him to convince him to sign. The message was that he was not being pursued with the short term in mind. Reportedly Arsenal's highest earner at the club, there's no denying that he's going to be a long-term starter. That's why it's going to be very important for Arsenal's forward signing to be versatile. So with the history of Alexander Isak and his ability to play out wide, thrive on the left-hand side as well, when you look at Gabriel Martinelli and all the uncertainty around that, the idea of Isak offering Arsenal that special X factor, the ability to beat players in a Thierry Henry-esque fashion, provide a moment of magic and brilliance. I'm going to ask you guys the question down below in the comments when it comes to price tags. Would you pay the reported £100 million for Alexander Isak, or turn to a potentially cheaper option of Benjamin Sesko? Moving on to the battle against Bournemouth. After another international break has come to an end, the return of the Arsenal of course is very promising. This time with a game against Bournemouth at the Vitality, and a game that Arsenal are set to wear their third kit for the first time this season, a kit that many Arsenal fans seem to have forgot they even had. In terms of the Arsenal team news on who's going to be available, many players have returned to first team training, with the likes of Declan Rice, Riccardo Calafiori and Andrew Trossard all spotted. The players that weren't seen though was a bit worrying. White, Timber, Tomiyasu Zinchenko, Martinelli, Saka and Havertz not pictured at training whatsoever. In the case of Martinelli, he has been spotted, arriving with the Arsenal first team squad ahead of the game against Bournemouth, indicating that he is set to be available. Mikel Gabi landed yesterday afternoon. He went outside to the pitch to see how he was feeling. We will have to decide if we want to risk him because I know that he'll say he's ready. In terms of Bukayo, personally I'm not too concerned though. As Lee Carty said himself, he was close to playing in the game against Finland, only withdrawn from the squad due to precaution. Mikel confirms the injury is not serious. He's evolving very well and we are hopeful. But what about Kai Havertz, not involved for Germany for the international break, remaining at Arsenal due to a knee injury? Mikel has confirmed that Kai could also be involved this weekend if all things go to plan in training. But you've also got a dilemma when it comes to fullbacks. Ben White not available for the last few weeks. Yuri and Timber having missed Arsenal's last game. According to Mikel, White, Timber and Zinchenko are all quite close, and we hope to have some positive news. If not fit, Mikel Arteta will once again turn to Thomas Partey. Fully rested, having not gone Ghana for the international duties. Arteta says that Partey is fit and ready. You then have the positive news regarding Martin Odegaard, after recent reports claiming about a potential setback in the injury. According to Sky Sports, contrary to reports on social media, Odegaard has not suffered any setback and Arsenal hopeful that he can return from his ankle injury in November. With Mikel Arteta asked if he was confident if Odegaard is to be back before the November international break, he says yes. We will see next week. For the next game though, he is not quite ready yet. Fantastic news for Arsenal fans and also our midfield. With the likes of Thomas Partey and Declan Rice carrying us so far this season, in this game against Bournemouth, I wonder if Mikel turns to a certain Mikel Merino, having played 2 games for Spain during the international break, making his first start of the year in a game against Serbia. When asked about his life at Arsenal, Merino says it's very intense, much different to Spain but also different to everywhere else. The methodology is unbelievable, not only on the pitch but also in the gyms. Every member of staff is on top of us, making sure we have what we need to improve. With all of that kept in mind, here's how I think Arsenal line up this Saturday. Raya and goal with a back four of Partey, Saliba, Gabriel and Calafiori, the midfield of Rice, Trossard and Merino, and the front three of Sterling, Havertz and Saka. With the uncertainty of right back, Partey makes sense there. Likewise, a start for Mikel Merino. Having made his first appearances for Spain this season, he looks sharper and sharper and this could be the perfect chance to start him. Then you've got Sterling at left wing, which makes sense because of the uncertainty. As close as Martinelli might be, we've got another player there who can be just as effective. Let's talk about the opponents though in Bournemouth, currently ranked 13th in the Premier League. A difficult start to the year with their last defeat against Leicester, having also lost to Liverpool and Chelsea, but with a coach that is a childhood friend of Mikel Arteta and knows him very well, alongside some decent underlying numbers. In terms of expected points, they've actually got 12, only slightly behind both Aston Villa and Man City, a point behind Arsenal. Arsenal will need to be careful because this is a massive week for the title race. with Man City taking on a Wolves side they lost to last season, alongside Liverpool taking on an informed Chelsea. If things go in their favour, we could end the week top of the table. But the thing I want to talk about is the expected points. A look into this year's numbers show that Liverpool currently ranked top, which makes sense with their easy start to the season. But then you've got Marco Silva's Fulham at second, followed by the likes of Spurs, Arsenal, Chelsea and City. In fact, in terms of Arsenal, after 7 games this year, we've actually made identical starts, having scored the same amount of goals, conceded the same amount, and the same amount of points. For me, it's actually very impressive on the Arsenal side of things, coming through a very difficult spell with so many key players injured, yet showing a way to get the job done and keep themselves in contention. The next 6 games don't get any easier. Following Bournemouth, you've got Shakhtar at home, Liverpool at home, then Preston away, Newcastle away and Inter away. Whereafter you've also got Chelsea away. November is going to be a gargantuan month for Arsenal and it all depends in terms of who returns. If we're able to keep ourselves in range though, come the second half of the year with so many key players returning to fitness, a potential boost in the January transfer window as well, Arsenal could have a chance to go clear. That is the video there and there, so hopefully you guys have enjoyed. If you have, don't forget to smash a like and also subscribe to the channel if you are new. If you want to follow your boy on all the social medias, then links are down below in the description. But that was all of your latest Arsenal news today. Ahead of a massive game against Bournemouth on the weekend. We'll of course talk about the 5 things after it and look forward to hopefully another Arsenal victory. So as per my friends, I'll see you next time. Take care. And